You're seriously giving me this? That was the moment it happened. Not a scream, not a slap, not even a dramatic gasp. Just those 6 words dripping with disgust as my sister held the scrapbook like it was a used tissue. I blinked. It's a scrapbook. I made it myself. It has photos of us from when we were kids, and I know what it is, Sienna snapped, flipping a page with 2 fingers like it might bite her. God, Pearl, you're 30. Why are you still giving me arts and crafts? The room was empty now. Just the 2 of us in the bridal suite after her shower. Earlier, the place had been packed with pastel cupcakes, fake laughter, and Presley squealing over lingerie. Now it was quiet, except for the sound of my heart thudding in my ears. I thought it'd be meaningful, I said. There's a page with Grandma's recipe in her handwriting, and the plane ticket stub from our first Disneyland trip. I spent weeks on it. Sienna rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. I told you we needed cash for the honeymoon. Jason and I are doing Bora Bora, not Memory Lane. She shoved the scrapbook back into the gift bag and tossed it onto the floor like it offended her. If you're not going to contribute to the fund, just say so. Don't do this whole sentimental guilt trip thing. I stood there, still holding the ribbon I'd tied around the bag. You asked for personal gifts at the shower. Yeah, from people who can't afford to do more. You can. You're always bragging about your savings account. I wasn't. I never bragged. I just once mentioned I'd paid off my student loans early, and somehow that became family code for Pearl's the bank. She crossed her arms. Look, it's not a big deal. Just Venmo me $2,000 or whatever. We'll call it even. Even. Like the last 15 years of bailing her out of overdraft fees, co-signing her car lease, and covering Mum's surprise birthday dinner that Sienna planned but forgot to pay for. Those didn't count. I didn't say a word. I bent down, picked up the scrapbook, and pulled the ribbon free. I folded it neatly, tucked it into my purse. Then I straightened up, looked her in the eye and said, "Okay." She blinked. "Okay? Okay," I repeated. I smiled. It wasn't warm. Then I turned and walked out of the suite. My heels clicked against the tile like punctuation marks. Something in me had snapped, but it snapped quietly, and that's always more dangerous. My name is Pearl, and I've been the family doormat for 3 decades. I'm the younger sister, the responsible one, the one who always shows up. I bring extra batteries to Thanksgiving. I remember everyone's birthdays. I keep a Google sheet of who likes what kind of wine. And Sienna? She's the sun around which our mother orbits. She's the drama, the sparkle, the one who just needs a little help right now for the 12th year running. Growing up, she used to steal my Halloween candy and then cry when I told Mom. Guess who got scolded for not sharing? At the bridal shower, she was in full performance mode. Hair extensions, fake lashes, a white dress that cost more than my rent. She opened each gift with a shriek and a squeal, tossing tissue paper like confetti. Presley, her maid of honour and fellow narcissist, kept shouting, "Yes, Queen!" every time Sienna unwrapped something remotely shiny. When it was my turn, I handed over the bag with both hands. I'd wrapped it in silver paper, tied it with ribbon, even added a sprig of lavender. Sienna smiled. Plastic, tight. "Oh, from my baby sister," she cooed, loud enough for everyone to hear. She opened it, flipped through a few pages and said, "So sweet." Then she moved on like it was a card from a co-worker. But later, when the guests were gone and the champagne buzz had faded, the real Sienna came out. I drove home in silence. No music, no podcast, just the sound of traffic and my own breathing. I didn't cry. I didn't even feel sad. I felt done, like something had finally clicked into place. At a red light, I glanced at the bag in the passenger seat. The scrapbook sat inside, slightly bent. I reached in, pulled it out, and opened to the last page. There, taped carefully, was a photo of us as kids, Sienna in a princess dress, me in a dinosaur hoodie, both of us grinning. I'd captioned it, "Before we knew better." I closed the book. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do yet, but I knew what I wasn't going to do. I wasn't giving her a single cent. Not for the honeymoon, not for the wedding, not for anything. She'd thrown away my gift. Fine, I'd return the favour. But unlike her, I'd do it with style. "Jayla, guess how much money I've given Sienna since college?" Jayla didn't even look up from her iced coffee. "Oh God, don't tell me. I want to sleep tonight." I flipped my laptop around so she could see the spreadsheet. "That's just the last 5 years. Rent, emergency credit card bills, bachelorette trip deposits, the I lost my wallet incident in Vegas." Jayla squinted at the total. $9,472? Are you kidding me? Nope. And that doesn't include the time I paid her car insurance for 6 months. Jayla set her cup down. "Pearl, babe, that's not sisterhood. That's financial abuse." I gave a half shrug. She always made it seem like it was just temporary, like I was helping her get on her feet. Jayla leaned across the table. "She's been standing on your feet." We were sitting at our usual spot at the corner cafe, 2 blocks from my apartment. I'd brought the scrapbook with me, mostly out of spite. I started pulling it apart while we talked. Jayla watched as I slid out a photo of us at summer camp, then carefully peeled off the corner sticker holding an old concert ticket. "Wait, is that from the Paramore show in 2009? "Yep, and this," I held up a folded napkin, "is from our first dinner out without our parents. Sienna ordered lobster and made me split the bill." Jayla snorted. "Classic." I kept dismantling the pages, slower now. There was something weirdly satisfying about it, like reverse therapy. Then I found it. I paused, holding up a small envelope. "What's that?" Jayla asked. I opened it and pulled out a pressed flower and a thin gold chain. "It's Grandma's locket. I forgot I put it in here." Jayla's eyes widened. "Wait, is that real gold?" "Yeah, it was in a box of her old stuff. I thought it'd be meaningful." Jayla took it, examined the clasp. "Pearl, this is vintage. You could sell this." I blinked. I wasn't thinking about that. "Think about it now," she said. "You've got emotional trauma and literal treasure in here. Let's make some magic." 2 hours later, we were at a vintage jewellery shop downtown. The guy behind the counter had a man bun and a magnifying glass. He examined the locket, the charm bracelet, and a couple of other trinkets I'd added to the pile. "I can give you $1,800 for the lot," he said. Jayla nudged me. "That's almost the exact amount she demanded." I smiled. "Make it $2,000 and you've got a deal." He looked at me, then at the jewellery. "All right, done." We walked out with a check in my hand and a plan forming in my head. "I'm not going to her wedding," I said. Jayla stopped mid-step. "Wait, what?" "I'm not going. I'm not giving her money. I'm not giving her time. I'm done." Jayla stared at me like I'd just sprouted wings. "You're serious?" "I've never been more serious." She let out a low whistle. "Okay then, what are you going to do instead?" I pulled out my phone and opened a travel app. Something for me. We sat on a bench outside the shop while I scrolled through options. Bali was too far. Miami felt too close. Then I saw it. "Sedona," I said. Jayla leaned over. "Ooh, red rocks, spas, rich divorcee energy. I like it." I booked the trip right there. Luxury spa resort, yoga in the mornings, facials in the afternoons, 3 nights, paid in full with the exact amount I'd just gotten from the jewellery. Jayla clapped. "This is the energy I've been waiting for. Pearl 2.0. I grinned. She wanted money for her honeymoon. Great, I'm using it for mine. A solo honeymoon. Jayla raised her coffee in a toast. To self-love and not funding narcissists. I clinked my water bottle against her cup. Amen. That night, I went home and pulled out the last few things from the scrapbook. I found an old note from Sienna, written in purple gel pen. "Thanks for letting me borrow your top." I got a date. "You're the best lil sis." I stared at it for a long second. Then I tossed it in the trash. The next morning, I started packing. Not for the wedding, for Sedona. I booked a massage, scheduled a facial, and even added on a sound bath session, because why not? My phone buzzed with a text from Sienna. Sienna. "Hey, I forgive you for the ugly gift thing. Let's just move on. Bring the check to the rehearsal dinner, Kay." I stared at the message. Jayla was right. This wasn't sisterhood. This was a transaction. I typed back one sentence. "I'll see what I can do." Then I turned off my phone and slid it into a drawer. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. My phone lit up with Mom just as I was zipping up my suitcase. I let it ring once, twice. Then I answered. "Hi, Mum." "Pearl," she said, her voice already tight. "I just got off the phone with your sister." "Of course she did. She said you're being difficult about the wedding gift. What's going on?" I took a deep breath and sat on the edge of my bed. I gave her a handmade scrapbook. She didn't like it. She asked for cash instead. "Well," Mum said slowly, "you know how stressed she's been. Planning a wedding is a lot. Maybe she just didn't express herself the right way." "She threw the scrapbook at me, Mom." Silence. "She said it was childish, called it arts and crafts." More silence. Then, "Well, maybe it wasn't the right time for that kind of gift." I stared at the wall. "So now it's my fault?" "I'm not saying that. I just think you should be the bigger person. You always are." There it was, the family catchphrase. Be the bigger person. Translation: let Sienna walk all over you again. "I'm not giving her money," I said. Mum sighed like I'd told her I was dropping out of society to live in a cave. "Pearl, please, it's not about the money. It's about family, about showing support. I've shown support for 30 years. She's your sister." I stood up. "Exactly, and she should act like it." Mum's voice dropped to that guilt-laced whisper she used when she wanted to sound like a martyr. "You know how she gets. Just give her the check and let's keep the peace for one weekend." I walked to the window and looked out at the street. She doesn't want peace. She wants control. "Pearl?" "I'm not doing it." There was a pause, then a sharp, disappointed exhale. "I just hope you don't regret this later." I hung up without saying goodbye. That night, I got another text from Sienna. Sienna. "I just want to move forward. Bring the check to the rehearsal dinner and we can forget the drama." She was so sure I'd cave. I texted back, "I'll see what I can do." Then I slid my phone into airplane mode and tossed it onto the couch. The rehearsal dinner was Friday night. I showed up in a navy dress and nude heels, smiling like nothing was wrong. I even brought a bottle of wine. Cheap, but I wrapped it nicely. Sienna spotted me the second I walked in. Her eyes scanned my hands. No envelope. "Pearl," she said, air-kissing my cheek. "Glad you could make it." "Wouldn't miss it," I said. Jason came over grinning. "Hey, glad you're here. Sienna's been running around like crazy." I smiled at him. Poor guy, still clueless. Presley floated over in a cloud of perfume and highlighter. "OMG, Pearl, you look so cute tonight. Love that you're not going too glam. It's very chill bridesmaid energy." "I'm not a bridesmaid," I said. She blinked. "Oh, right, well, still cute." Dinner was a blur of wine, speeches, and Sienna laughing too loud at things that weren't funny. I sat between a second cousin and one of Jason's groomsmen, neither of whom knew what to say to me. I didn't mind. I was busy watching. Sienna floated from table to table, hugging people, reminding them about the honeymoon fund box that would be at the reception. "Just cash or checks, please," she said, like she was running a fundraiser. Presley leaned over at one point and whispered, "She's so excited for the 3K your family's contributing. She's already spent it in her head." I almost choked on my water. "Oh?" I said. Presley nodded. "Yeah, she told me your mum's giving 1,000 and you're doing 2. That's so generous." I smiled. She's always had a vivid imagination. Presley blinked, confused. I excused myself and went to the bathroom, locked the stall, sat on the toilet seat, fully clothed, and just breathed. This was it. The performance. The illusion. Everyone here thought I was the dutiful sister, the one who'd show up with a fat check and a forced smile. They had no idea I'd already booked a massage in Sedona for the same time as the ceremony. I walked out of the stall, washed my hands, and looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't look angry. I looked calm, peaceful even. I dried my hands and walked back out like nothing had happened. After dinner, I hugged Jason goodbye. "Excited for tomorrow?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah, just ready to get through it. Sienna's been intense. She wants everything perfect." "Yeah," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "I just hope she slows down after this." I didn't say anything. Sienna hugged me last. Her voice was syrupy sweet. "So, you bringing the gift tomorrow? Or should I just check my Venmo?" I smiled. "I'll see what I can do." Then I walked to my car, heels clicking on the pavement. I didn't look back. The wedding venue looked like a Pinterest board threw up on a vineyard. White roses everywhere, gold chairs, a harpist playing something that sounded expensive. I walked in just long enough to be seen at the rehearsal dinner the night before. But today I was done pretending. The morning of the wedding, I woke up early, showered, and pulled out my suitcase. Everything was already packed. Breezy dresses, sandals, sunscreen, and a wide-brimmed hat I'd bought just for this trip. I double-checked my flight confirmation, then pulled up Instagram. I scheduled the post, a photo of my boarding pass, spa itinerary, and a caption that read, "Starting my own honeymoon. Self-love, people-pleasing." I stared at it for a second, then hit schedule. It would go live right as Sienna walked down the aisle. My phone buzzed with a message from her. "Sienna. Don't forget the card. Presley's collecting them at the reception table." I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my group text with Jayla and Patrick, our cousin who somehow knew all the family tea. Me. "Boarding in 2 hours. Say hi to the drama for me." Jayla. "You're a legend. I'm bringing popcorn to the reception." Patrick. "I'll keep you posted. Already heard Sienna's been bragging about your gift. This is going to be delicious." I grinned and turned my phone to airplane mode. At the airport, I ordered a mimosa and sat near the gate, watching the wedding unravel from a distance. I imagined Presley in her sequined dress, fluttering around with a clipboard, barking orders at the caterers. I pictured my mum telling people I was running late or not feeling well. I imagined Sienna smiling through her teeth, wondering where my envelope was. I didn't feel bad, not even a little. The plane boarded. I slid into my seat, pulled out a book, and exhaled. Meanwhile, back at the venue, the whispers started early. Patrick told me later that people noticed I wasn't in the family photos. My mum told the photographer I was on my way, but by the time the ceremony started, people started asking questions. Presley, ever the PR manager, told a bridesmaid I had a last-minute emergency. Then someone saw my Instagram post. According to Patrick, it spread like wildfire. One of the groomsmen showed Jason. Jason showed the best man. The best man asked Presley, "Is this real?" Presley asked Sienna, and that's when the meltdown began. I was poolside sipping champagne when I got the first update. Patrick. "She just found out. She's pretending it's no big deal, but her eye is twitching." Jayla. "Your mum is telling people you had food poisoning. Someone showed her the post." Patrick. The look on her face, I wish I could frame it. I laughed out loud. The woman next to me raised an eyebrow. I just smiled and took another sip. Back at the reception, things got messier. Sienna made her grand entrance, all smiles and sparkles, but the mood had shifted. People were murmuring. Presley tried to keep the energy up, but the bridesmaids were too busy snickering over the Instagram post. Jason, sweet, clueless Jason, finally confronted Sienna. "You told me Pearl was giving you money," he said, according to Patrick. "You said she offered." Sienna scoffed. "She was supposed to. She's just being dramatic." Jason frowned. "You demanded it from her." "I didn't demand. You told her $2,000 or nothing." "She owed me," Sienna snapped. Jason stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Meanwhile, I was getting a hot stone massage. The spa music played softly. My phone was off. My body was loose. And for the first time in years, I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight. Later that night, I turned my phone back on. It lit up like a Christmas tree. "Jayla?" She cried in the bridal suite, full mascara meltdown, screamed at Presley, threw a wine glass. Patrick. Jason looked like he wanted to run. I think he finally saw the real her. "Mom, call me, now." I didn't. Instead, I posted a photo of my dinner, lobster tail, roasted vegetables, and a glass of wine, with the caption, "Cheers to choosing peace over performance." The next morning, I FaceTimed Jayla from my balcony. She answered with a grin. "You are a hero." "Tell me everything," Jayla launched into it. "Okay, so Presley tried to spin it like you had a mental breakdown. Then Patrick showed everyone your post. The bridesmaids were dying. One of them said, 'Honestly, I wish I'd skipped too.'" I laughed. "How's Sienna?" "Puffy, silent. Jason's been MIA since the cake cutting. I think he's rethinking his life." I leaned back in my chair. "Good." Jayla raised her mug. "To karma?" "To boundaries," I said, and then we both burst out laughing. Back at the wedding, Sienna was left with a pile of envelopes, some empty, some thin, and a husband who was suddenly asking real questions. And me? I was in Sedona, sun on my face, not a single regret in sight. I was halfway through my second mimosa when my phone buzzed again. "Mom, call me, this is serious." Sienna. "You ruined everything." Presley. "Wow, just wow." I locked the screen and dropped the phone face down on the side table. The view from my suite was too perfect to waste on notifications. Red rocks glowing in the sunset, warm breeze, and not a single screaming bridesmaid in sight. Earlier that morning, I'd laid out my plan like clockwork. I'd woken up before sunrise, showered, and made myself a cup of tea. No music, no distractions, just calm. I laid out the clothes I'd wear to the airport: linen pants, soft tee, sandals. I packed the last few things into my carry-on: sunscreen, a book, a sleep mask. Then I opened my laptop and cued the post. It was a photo of my spa itinerary, the boarding pass tucked underneath, and a caption that read, "Can't make the wedding, prior commitment, starting my own honeymoon, self-love, people-pleasing." I scheduled it for 3:55 p.m, 5 minutes before the ceremony was set to start. I stared at the screen for a second before closing the laptop. Then I picked up my phone, opened my messages, and typed one final text to Sienna. "Me. Can't make the wedding. Prior commitment." I hit send. Then I blocked her number, blocked Mom too, blocked Presley for good measure. I turned on Do Not Disturb, zipped my suitcase, and walked out the door. At the airport, I bought a green juice and sat at the gate like I hadn't just detonated a social grenade. The flight was smooth. I spent most of it reading and ignoring the growing temptation to check my phone. By the time I landed in Arizona, the post had gone live. The comments were already rolling in. "Jayla, You did it. Patrick. I'm at the reception. Everyone's talking. Sienna's face when she saw the post. Priceless. Bridesmaid. I barely knew. Honestly, iconic. I turned off notifications again. I wasn't here to bask in the chaos. I was here to breathe. The resort was everything I hoped for. Soft robes, citrus-infused water in the lobby, a welcome drink with a sprig of rosemary. The receptionist handed me a key card and said, "You're booked for the Serenity package, daily massage, facials, yoga, and sound healing." "Perfect," I said. I checked into my suite, kicked off my shoes, and stood on the balcony for a moment. The silence was unreal. No screaming, no guilt-tripping, no one asking for money. Just me. Later that night, I FaceTimed Jayla. She answered from her car, still in her bridesmaid dress, hair frizzed, makeup smudged. "Girl," she said, "you have no idea what you just caused." "Tell me everything," she grinned. "Okay, so first of all, Presley tried to play it off like you had a mental health emergency and needed space." I laughed. "That's rich." "Then someone showed your post to the groomsman. Jason saw it. He looked like he'd been hit by a bus." "Did he say anything?" "Yeah. He walked straight to Sienna and asked, 'Did you demand money from Pearl?'" I raised my eyebrows. "And?" "She tried to spin it. Said you were being selfish and ruining her moment. Jason didn't buy it." Jayla paused, grinning wider. Then he said, "If she needed to escape this circus, maybe I should have gone with her." I nearly dropped my phone. He said that? Word for word, babe. I let out a low whistle. Wow. "Oh, and your mum, she told people you had food poisoning. Then someone showed her your post. She turned red, like tomato red." I leaned back on the bed, laughing. "I should have done this years ago." Jayla nodded. "You're free now. How does it feel?" I looked around at the soft lighting, the spa menu on the nightstand, the sound of wind rustling through the trees outside. "Peaceful," I said. The next morning I got a massage, 90 minutes, hot stones. At one point I think I levitated. Afterward, I sat by the pool with a smoothie and let the sun warm every inch of my skin. I watched a lizard scurry across the patio and felt, for the first time in forever, completely still. Then I checked the group chat. "Patrick, update. Sienna flipped out when she realized your envelope wasn't in the gift box. She made Presley count them twice." Jayla. "She cornered your mum and asked where the money was. Your mum actually said maybe she finally got tired of being used." I blinked. "Me." "Wait, Mom said that?" "Patrick." "Yup, out loud in front of Aunt Denise." I stared at the screen, stunned. Maybe the spell had finally broken. Maybe when I walked away, I didn't just save myself. I showed everyone what Sienna really was. That night, I ordered room service and sat on the balcony with a glass of wine. I watched the sun melt behind the rocks and thought about how long I'd let guilt dictate my life. Not anymore. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to fight. I just needed to leave. And that, it turned out, was loud enough. Patrick called me from the parking lot of the reception, whispering like he was in a spy movie. "She's losing it." I put him on speaker and set the phone on the patio table next to my mimosa. "Define losing it," Patrick exhaled. "Okay, so first she tried to play it cool, acted like you were just running late. Then someone showed her the Instagram post. She froze, like full statue mode." I sipped my drink. "And?" "She stormed off. Presley followed her. 10 minutes later, they came back and started counting the envelopes." I laughed. "You're kidding." "Nope. Presley had a clipboard. I think she had a whole spreadsheet. They were whispering, flipping through cards, checking names. I could practically see it. Sienna in her sparkling white dress, flipping through wedding cards like a tax auditor." I leaned back in my chair, soaking in the Arizona sun. So what happened when they realized mine was missing? She said, and I quote, "Pearl must have mailed it. She's just being dramatic." I snorted. Sure, that tracks. Then Jason walked over. My ears perked up. What did he say? He asked why you weren't there. Sienna said you bailed for attention. Jason didn't buy it. He said you told him at the rehearsal dinner you were excited. Then he asked Presley if you'd said anything to her. And Presley looked like she swallowed a lemon. She said, "Pearl's always been weird." Nice. Jason didn't let it go. He said, "Did she give you guys money?" Presley said no. Then he asked Sienna flat out, "Did you demand money from your sister?" I sat up straighter. And what did she say? She said, "She's family. She owes me." I blinked. She actually said that? Loudly, in front of the DJ? I burst out laughing. "Oh my God," Patrick chuckled. Then Jason walked off. He hasn't spoken to her since. He's been talking to the best man and drinking straight whiskey. I shook my head. He's seeing it now. Everyone is. The bridesmaids were whispering about your post. One of them said, "Honestly, Pearl made the right call." I grinned. "Tell them I said thanks." "Oh, and your mum tried to cover for you again, told Aunt Denise you were sick with a stomach bug." Then someone showed her your post. She turned purple. "Did she say anything?" Patrick laughed. She said, "That girl is going to kill me." Then she sat down and didn't move for 20 minutes. I stood up and stretched. Sounds like a great party. Oh, it gets better. During the cake cutting, Sienna tried to smile for photos but kept glancing at the gift table. Then she whispered something to Presley, who ran back and counted the envelopes. Again. Twice. 3 times now. I shook my head. She really thought I'd show up with a fat check and a fake smile. She underestimated you. I looked out at the red rocks glowing under the setting sun. She always did. An hour later, Jayla sent me a video. It was shaky, taken from behind a floral centerpiece, but the audio was clear. Sienna stood at the head table, wineglass in hand, wild-eyed. "I just think it's funny," she said, voice rising, "how some people, family, can't even show up for the most important day of your life." Jason stood next to her, stiff, arms crossed. Presley tried to pull her back. "Babe, let's just—" "No," Sienna snapped. "She made this about her. She's always been jealous, always needed to make everything about her." Someone in the background coughed. A few guests looked away. The DJ awkwardly turned the music volume down. Jayla's voice, off-camera, whispered, "This is better than Netflix." By the time the reception ended, my phone was blowing up. Patrick. "She cried in the bridal suite. Lock the door. Presley's trying to calm her down." Jayla. Jason left early, didn't even stay for the sparkler exit. Bridesmaid again. "Pearl, you won the wedding." I opened our cousin group chat. Someone had changed the name to Pearl's Wedding Now. I laughed so hard I nearly spilled my drink. The next morning, I checked my phone while sipping coffee on the balcony. A new message had popped up in the anonymous group chat someone started for the bridal party. Unknown. That meltdown was iconic. Pearl actually won the wedding. Another. "Is she single? Asking for my brother." Jayla. "She's booked and busy, babe." I spent the rest of the day hiking, getting another massage, and eating a ridiculously overpriced avocado toast. I didn't check my phone again until sunset. There was one new message from an unknown number. Unknown. "You hurt a lot of people. Hope it was worth it." I blocked it without replying. It was worth it. Every second. The wedding was over. The guests had gone home. The flowers were already wilting in their centerpieces. But Sienna, She was just getting started with her breakdown. I was lying face down on a massage table in Sedona, warm oil being poured down my back, when Jayla called. I usually wouldn't answer, but I had a feeling. I slid my phone off the side table and answered with a whisper. "What now?" Jayla didn't even say hello. She flipped out like full meltdown, screaming, crying, accusing people. I propped myself up on one elbow. "At who?" "Everyone," she said. "She accused Presley of stealing envelopes, said someone must have taken your card." I blinked. She really thinks I mailed her a check. She thinks someone stole the check you didn't give. I flopped back down and laughed into the massage table. Jayla kept going. She went down the list of guests, asking who gave what. She even asked Jason's aunt how much she put in the envelope. "You're kidding." "Not even a little." She said, "I just need to know who actually supports me." Jason pulled her aside, and they had a full argument in the hallway. People heard everything. What did he say? He said, "I married you, not your Venmo." Then he asked if she even cared about the day or just the money. I whistled. Ouch. She said, "You don't get it. Pearl humiliated me. She made me look like a beggar." I sat up now, the massage forgotten. She made herself look like a beggar. Exactly. I grabbed a robe and walked out onto the balcony. So what now? Are they still married? Jayla hesitated. They're technically married, but Jason left the hotel last night. He booked a separate room. They haven't spoken since. I stared out at the desert. Wow, she's spiraling, Jayla said. Presley tried to calm her down, but Sienna turned on her too, said, "You were supposed to manage this. You let her embarrass me." I snorted. She wanted a wedding planner, not a friend. Presley told her she was acting like a spoiled brat. Then she left. Presley left? Yep, took off her heels and walked out barefoot. It was kind of beautiful. I smiled. Karma's not always a thunderbolt. Sometimes it's a barefoot bridesmaid walking across a gravel driveway. Jayla laughed. You're a poet now? I'm relaxed. Well, enjoy it. You earned this. That night, I posted a photo of the sunset from my balcony. No caption, just light and sky and silence. People flooded the comments. Cousin Leah. This is the energy I want in my life. Jayla. Queen behaviour. Random groomsman. Wish I'd gone with you. I didn't respond to any of them. I didn't need to. Meanwhile, back home, Sienna was unravelling. Patrick sent me a voice memo the next day. She's calling everyone, trying to do damage control, told Aunt Denise you were mentally unstable and needed help. I rolled my eyes. She told Jason's mum you were jealous of her happiness. Jason's mum said she looked pretty happy in Sedona. I laughed. She saw the post. Everyone saw the post. The next morning, I checked my email and saw a subject line that made me pause. Proposal. Book idea. Boundaries and burnout. It was from a small publishing house I'd submitted to months ago. I'd written a sample chapter about emotional labour in families, titled The Cost of Being the Responsible One. I opened the email. They wanted to offer me a deal. I sat there, stunned, the spa music still playing softly from my Bluetooth speaker. Jayla called right as I was processing it. Guess what? I said. What? I got a book deal. She screamed so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. Shut up! Shut up! I'm serious. Pearl, you're about to be a published author. And the family legend who skipped the wedding. You're unstoppable. I laughed. Feels like it. Jayla paused. So, what happens when you go back? I looked out at the mountains. I don't know, but I'm not scared of her anymore. That night, I took a long bath, poured myself a glass of wine, and scrolled through the anonymous group chat one last time. Someone had posted a meme. A photo of a woman walking away from a burning building with sunglasses on. Caption: Pearl walking out of the family group chat like... I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. The comments underneath were even better. She didn't attend the wedding, but she gave us all a gift. I aspire to Pearl's level of peace. Honestly, she's the main character now. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I just smiled, locked my phone, and went to bed. Sienna had always counted on me to be quiet, to keep the peace, to write the check. But this time, I chose myself. And that silence, it was the loudest thing I'd ever done. I was unpacking my suitcase when the doorbell rang. No knock, just the bell, sharp and impatient. I peeked through the peephole. Sienna. She stood there in flats and sunglasses, arms crossed, shoulders tense. I opened the door halfway, blocking most of the entry with my body. "Hi," I said. She pulled off her sunglasses like it was a dramatic movie scene. "We need to talk." I didn't move. "About what?" She pushed a breath through her nose. "You humiliated me." I tilted my head. "No, you did that yourself." Her jaw clenched. "You abandoned your family. You bailed on my wedding. You made me look like a fool." I leaned against the doorframe. "You screamed at me over a scrapbook, demanded money like it was owed. You look like a fool." She stepped forward, but I didn't move. I was stressed. Weddings are a lot. You blindsided me. I crossed my arms. "You asked for $2,000. You threw my gift in the trash." "I didn't throw it. You tossed it on the floor and called it arts and crafts." She blinked. "It wasn't about the gift, it was about the principle." I laughed. "Exactly. And the principle is, I'm not your ATM anymore." Sienna's face twisted. "You think you're better than me now?" "No," I said. "I think I'm done with you." That landed. She stepped back like I'd slapped her. "You didn't just skip the wedding," she said. "You made a show of it. You posted about it. You wanted people to talk." "No," I said. "I wanted peace. I just didn't care if people talked." She stared at me for a long second. Then her voice dropped. "Jason's not speaking to me." I didn't reply. "He said I embarrassed him, that I made the whole day about money." I raised an eyebrow. "Did you?" She didn't answer. "I'm not the villain here," she said, quieter now. "No," I said. "You're the consequence." Her eyes flashed. "So that's it? You're just walking away?" "I already did." She looked around like she might scream, but nothing came out. Just silence. She finally turned and walked back to her car. No goodbye, no apology. I closed the door and locked it. Later that afternoon, Jayla showed up with 2 coffees and a bag of croissants. "Tell me everything," she said, kicking off her shoes. "She came to the door," I said, handing her a napkin. "Tried to spin it, blamed me, said Jason's mad, still didn't apologize." Jayla bit into a croissant. "Of course not. Narcissists don't do accountability." "She said I made a show of it." Jayla snorted. "You made a statement." "There's a difference." I smiled. "She's unraveling." "She's exposed," Jayla corrected. "She's always been this way, now everyone sees it." I sat down on the couch. "She asked if I was just walking away." Jayla looked at me. "And you are, right?" I nodded. "Yeah, I am." She raised her coffee. "To walking away." I clinked my mug against hers. "To never going back." That night, I got an email from my editor. Subject: "Cover concept attached." I opened the file. The book title was in bold across a soft, minimalist background. The Cost of Yes, How I Stopped Saving Everyone Else and Started Saving Myself. I stared at it for a long second, then clicked Download. I sent the image to Jayla. She replied with a single word: chills. The next morning, I checked my mail. Bills, a coupon for a pizza place I never go to, and one small white envelope with no return address. I opened it slowly. Inside was a blank wedding thank you card. No message, no signature, just empty. I stared at it, then let out a laugh, short and sharp. I walked to my bookshelf, tucked it between two books, and stepped back. It sat there like a trophy, not of the wedding, of the win.